This episode of Ticket Volume is brought to you by us, Invigate. Get service operations under control in no time. Get one free month of our software solution by going to try.invigate.com. Ticket Volume is proud to present an IT leader with 12 years of experience in leading cross-functional teams, managing large-scale IT projects, and ensuring smooth IT operations. While she is a certified ITIL 4 managing professional, she started off in the industry on the technical side in support, engineering, and sysadmin roles. She has served in service delivery, service support management, with a stint as an IT manager at Zenith Bank. She now serves as a service delivery manager at Vita Bank. She also serves as a mentor as part of the Read Women in Technology Network. Welcome to Ticket Volume, news and information for improving IT experiences. I am your host, Matt Beran, and each week I am so lucky to get to geek out and nerd out with different leaders to share their insights on service management, technology, and business, and so much more. And this episode is going to have more value to be found in this service. And hey, do you want to continue the conversation after this episode? Comment on YouTube or on our LinkedIn social accounts. Use these platforms to dig deeper, connect with our guests, and engage with experts in our industry. Or give us some guest ideas or topic ideas. Help me spend our Ticket Volume budget. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day and a great week. And I also hope that you'll share our podcast with someone, get involved, and get us improving. Now, let's begin. Welcome to Ticket Volume, Georgina Otubela.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor.
Oh, my pleasure for sure. We were on just before this, and I was lauding your praises because you were totally prepared. You had read your intro. You were on the Miro board. You are clearly prepared this morning. So congratulations for being. You just shocked me in being so
Oh,
ready this morning.
thank you so much. I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Totally. And I just think it's hard sometimes to get on these things, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. A lovely story about the record behind you. If you do reach out to Georgie, make sure that you ask her about the record behind her. Okay, let's get started. So when we spoke and planned out this episode, it was very clear to me that you think about service design a lot. You think about the services and how to build them and then how they get delivered. It's clear that you kind of have the whole service chain in your brain at all times. And so we have to talk about that because I think it's the foundation of good service. What
Mm.
what do you think is the foundation of good service? What do we need to have in place to design good services?
So for me, the customer is at the heart of everything that we do. I mean, technology is complicated enough, but delivering a good service to customers to keep them coming back and to build that trust in you as a service provider or, an organization that keeps them coming back and keeps them going out into the market or out into their colleagues and people in their teams and saying, you know what, our IT department get this right. That's what I care about. I mean, technology is great, and I'm all for my techie background, but ensuring that I deliver value and good customer service is what keeps me doing what I do day in, day out.
My gosh, I love that. The trust element. I,
Yeah.
you don't think about that very often, but people can go and get their services from anywhere that they want. I was
Yeah.
reading a Reddit thread yesterday about, someone said, how do I stop people from using bad AI models? And what's great is the resounding response from all the nerds on there was provide them with a great model to use.
Exactly.
And I love that because it's kind of been a shift over the last 30 years. 20 years ago when you and I were getting started in this industry,
Yeah.
it was all about blocking. How do we stop them from using something bad? And we've
Yeah.
moved towards this. We've built trust. And so when you think about building trust with customers, how do we do that? How do we make sure that they do trust us? Like what is the how do you build good relationships with your customers?
So for me, I think it goes beyond providing the stable service of, your 9 to 5 of keeping systems up when they need to be up. I think it's how you respond when things go wrong and building that trust that we hear you, we understand the impact, um, We understand the linkage to other systems and how this might break your processes and things like that. And we're on it. So we're responding quickly. We're saying we acknowledge that there's a problem. We're going to give you an update in the next 30 minutes, even if it's a we still know that there's a problem, we're on it, we're working with the right teams. And it's building that trust that someone goes, well, this is rubbish, it's down, but I have every confidence that as a team, they're going to get this working again, whether it's, looping in the resolver teams or getting the right comms out and being consistent with the messaging. And so for me, the main trust comes when things go wrong because I want to hold on to my customer and keep them coming back and get the win. And at the end of it, they go, thank you. And, we know that customers accept that things go wrong, but they have that confidence that you're going to get it back to a working situation.
That's such a good answer. It reminds me of parenting so much. You have to let failures happen because they
Yeah.
happen. It's going to always happen. But then how you respond to that failure is what it either traumatizes your child or
Yeah.
or it makes them stronger. It makes them trust you more. And
Yeah.
how you respond really matters. I love that. That
I
is
think
such a good response.
when I'm leading service delivery teams, I employ the same kind of methodology. Is I don't want to put my foot on people's neck and tell them that this is how they do it because I'm going to stop any form of creativity. There's because
Mm.
I've been in this game a long time. There's going to be someone out there younger than me with a fresher idea. So I want them to have the safety to try, but the space to fail so that we can grow and learn together and go, look, this is what worked well, this is what didn't. Let's come to some kind of compromise and we move forward again. And we're probably both going to take something from that. So it's that creating that safe environment for people to try, fail, we go again, we succeed.
Oh, that is such a great perspective. It's a humility. It's
Mm.
it is the basis of co-creation of value. That
Yeah,
you'll hear from them what was working, and then you can amplify that value to everyone or even
absolutely.
beyond.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's great. I love this. This is a great topic. And this is amazing already. I love this episode already. How do you operationalize that? How do you get your IT teams to understand this and then put it into action? What are the processes and procedures to put it into action?
So for me, the fundamental side of it comes down to understanding the business. So I'll have my teams really integrate with the business to understand what they do, what systems are critical to them, but also what time periods are critical to them. Because, I don't want to be stressing about something on day one of the working month if they actually don't need it till day 15. We've got time, the pressure's off, we can fix it. So I think really engaging with the business and the service delivery teams to understand where our critical periods are so that we can plan for the things that we can control, i.e., your things like your patching, your maintenance, but we can respond better in major incidents so that we know, Christ, we need to get this back up and running quickly because they need this today, tomorrow. This is their end of month period, for example. Um, so for me, I think major incident management is the process that I really think about when I'm planning out my delivery and how my teams are going to respond to that.
Okay, that's fantastic. I'm developing a presentation right now. It's on how to design serviceless services, like
Mm,
services that don't go down, and that's kind of where it starts. Is thinking
yeah,
about you think about the emergencies. What's the really, like, I call it the inner ring. That's the
yeah,
major incident inner ring, and you need to protect you need to protect that part because it's the basis. And then you go out to the outer ring and it's more like standard incidents. Like, let's make
yeah,
sure that we automate the right stuff and, just think ahead kind of.
yeah, exactly.
And then, so what, when you're in that outer ring or even in the inner ring, when you're planning these major incidents,
Mm.
what are the situations where it works well? When does it not work well? What are the gotchas that people should be thinking about when they're designing?
So I think in terms of designing an incident response, the gotchas that I always find are people related. It's if you trust your incident management team, then trust them, let them get on with it. There's only so many cooks that we need in the kitchen. It doesn't work. And this is where I see myself as a gatekeeper. I will tell certain people, back off, let us do our job. We
Mm.
know there's an issue. We've got this person on resolvers, we've got this person on communications. Having someone bellowing and saying, what's going on? When's it going to be fixed? Can I try it yet? It's not helping the situation. You're not adding to the solution. So for me, I take my role as an incident manager really seriously, because I need to protect my people that are resolving the incident while keeping the customers happy and letting them know that we're on it, and keeping kind of it could be leadership team, it could be other stakeholders, keeping them at bay to be like, give us the space to do this.
Okay, that's great. It's like a separation of duties,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Or
totally.
I wonder, and we didn't talk about this, but I wonder, how do small teams do this well? Like, if you don't have enough people to do, can you do that well?
I mean, I've worked in big companies and small companies, and it, I've seen it. I've seen it work well in all of them. But it really comes down to almost looking at it like a football team or a basketball team. Of everyone needs to know what their role is. They protect each other, but you go right. You are dedicated to getting this resolved. You're going to hear no noise from anyone else. Just focus on getting it fixed and getting the right people involved. I'll put my hand up and go, right, I'm on comms. I'm going to make sure that comms are out when we say they're going to be out, that
Yeah.
we're speaking to the right people. Have we got the right broadcast lists going on? Are we communicating on the right mediums? Are we doing email? Are we doing SMS? Are we doing,
Mm-hmm.
any kind of pop-ups here, there, and everywhere? And if everyone plays their role, it works seamlessly. And
Mm-hmm.
you've got the kind of the call bridges spun up so that people can dip in and out as and when they need to, and it can work flawlessly, but it takes some practice.
That's great. I think in a small company, it makes me think that maybe the director role handles comms, right? Like
Yeah,
if you don't, let's say you don't have admin access, you don't have domain access,
yeah,
you probably aren't on the firefighting side. You are probably on the comms side.
yeah,
And if you're on the firefighting side, you need to know who the comms person is for major incident management, because they have to know what you're working on. You need to be linked between those
yeah,
two people.
yeah. That's it. I see myself as kind of the defender. I'm giving my resolver guys the space to get on, but I understand what they're doing. I can't go and do it. So I'm
Hmm.
best off being that translator between the business and IT, because I'll speak both languages for them.
Yeah. This is why an early startup, a CTO might be doing comms around major incident
Yeah,
management, or a CEO, the founder might
yeah.
be doing it. But it's really just to keep your customers happy and keep your employees productive.
That's it.
What situations does it not work well in? Like what does bad look like?
I think bad is kind of the over promising and under delivering aspect, when
Mm,
you say we'll have this fixed in half an hour, and you actually don't know what the underlying issue is. The best thing to do is say, we know that there's an issue. We don't know beyond that what that looks like. If there's going to be a knock-on effect, are we talking about we need restores? Is this going to go into a couple of days? So the best thing to do is be transparent and say what you know right now, not we think we've got and we think we know the underlying cause and we think we're going to have this back in half an hour, because you're delivering false hope. And then when it fails, you've got egg on your face.
that is it. I love it. That is such a good point. You can't overpromise and underdeliver.
No.
It's such a simple thing that we learned when we were teenagers or
Yeah.
adolescents, but we forget about it. We forget in the moment, in the heat of the moment, we want to say something that will give them hope, but you need to be clear. What
Yeah.
what can you say? What can you not say? That is such
Yeah.
a great response. What and so we've been talking about the inner ring, the major incident management. What about the outer ring? What can we do to free up resources in the outer ring so that when stuff goes down, we can take time to plan out major incident management. We can take
Mm.
time to improve services. How do we make that outer ring easier?
So for me, this is probably what I feared most. If I go back maybe 15 to 18 years in my career, it's the automating where you can and the process optimization to free up your resources from those repetitive tasks. I mean, 21-year-old me working for, oh, I won't name names, but 21-year-old me kind of, you know, the thought of having something that can automate password resets and things like that, it terrified me because I was like, what am I going to do all day? Like, I work in support, this is what I do. But now I'm like, I don't want to think about password resets. I don't want to think about any of this. Give users the power to do that so that my teams can get on doing stuff that actually matters and
Mhm.
improving themselves and benefiting the business and actually delivering value. So I actually do a lot of work around process optimization, and looking at where we can eradicate manual processes for the business. So there was one of the companies that I worked for over the last few years had a manual process where someone will literally take a paper file, walk it down to a department 2 floors down, and I was like, this is bonkers. This is
Yeah.
absolutely. I was like, what decade are you guys operating in? So we put in a solution that meant, it was all digitalized and we had workflow processes, and it's like it saved this poor lady's leg. I was like, it's
Time.
so basic, but it
Yeah.
made such a difference to their life. So I'm like, you've got to do that, whether it be for the business or for your internal tech teams.
Yeah. And I think as technologists, as engineers, we see that stuff and we just, it's the facepalm moment.
Yeah.
Why are we still using fax machines? Every time I have to fax something, I think, oh my gosh, why do we do this? I get it that
Yeah.
there's regulation, right? There's regulations
Yeah.
around stuff. But if those constraints don't exist, we are just torturing ourselves.
I know. I mean, there's one of the companies that I supported, they had to use fax, and this is only going back in the last couple of years. I was like, do you not shudder every time you go to send a fax document that if is today the day the fax machine is going to break because they're
Exactly.
not easy to come by anymore? What are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that is kind of like the next question then. What are the other situations where automation doesn't work well? When should we be avoiding automation?
I mean, this is my personal opinion. I don't think that automation and situations like this, I don't think they work well when there's a human touch that's needed.
Mm,
So things like banking, if I've got an issue where I actually need to pick up the phone to the bank, I don't want to go through any kind of automated process. I don't want to speak to a bot. I just want someone to answer the phone so I can explain to them what my issue is. Because if I'm phoning you, there's already a problem.
yeah.
I need that personal response. Same with things when it comes to hospitals. If it's urgent and I need to check on a loved one in a hospital, I don't want to talk to your robot. I want someone to pick up the phone, put me through to the right ward, and get the update.
Yeah, it's those empathetic moments. It's the
Mm,
time when you wouldn't when you wouldn't text your mother.
yeah,
You don't,
exactly.
there are situations where you don't text your mom or your spouse or whatever. You call them because it's
Yeah,
important. It matters to them. It's money, it's love,
exactly.
the really high priority things for people. That's a great answer.
Conversely, though, we have in the UK we have a service there's a government-backed savings account where if you're saving for your first home, you deposit money into an account and the government add a percentage onto it. The only way that you can withdraw that money is by talking to a bot, giving them your solicitor's details, and saying, "This is the day it draws down." You never see your money again. It goes off to the solicitors. And I cannot tell you how terrified I was using this process. I was like, I just don't trust it. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's going to be fine. And it was. But the thought that you've got my life savings to buy my first home and I've not got a face to a name. I'm not hearing a voice. I'm
Yeah.
literally on my mobile sending a message saying release the funds this day, this time to the solicitors. Trust me, I was on the phone going, have you got the funds? Like, have
Yeah.
you got my money?
Yeah, you end up finding the cracks. You
Yeah.
call the people that you can call then to
Yeah.
see if it's working. In the States, it's the IRS, it's
Yeah.
taxes. You could get sued if you don't do it right, and so
Yeah.
you're constantly wondering, did I send that in right? I hope I sent it in right. And
Yeah.
and because of security, they don't communicate very well.
Yeah,
It's all through the mail, through snail mail.
yeah,
So very like these antiquated processes, man.
yeah.
They are
It's the
ripe.
anxiety that it then puts on us as as customers. See, I don't need this.
Yeah, exactly. Poorly designed services and services that haven't been innovated create
Mm.
stress as
Yeah,
technology and as the world moves on away from your services.
yeah.
Uh, so then when you think about this and you think about in the context of service, uh, we talk about sometimes this idea of service recovery, or
Mm,
something fails and then we do something to get their trust back,
mm,
or we're just delighting them like they didn't expect it to be good. What are
mm.
those moments that matter? What are the moments that we can do that in?
I think, I mean, in terms of incident management, it's getting those resolver comms out to say, the service is back up, but following up with a, this is what we've learned and this is what we're doing to prevent a future failure again, to give that trust and confidence in the business, because you have to acknowledge the failure, whether it be something that's been caused internally, by your, if it's a bit of an own goal, or whether it's systematic, but acknowledging that it's happened and that this is what we've done to put safeguards in place to prevent it happening again. It builds back that trust. And I know I've talked about trust a lot today, but it comes back to trust and reputation for me.
Yeah.
That's what's going to keep people coming back, whether you're an internal service provider or, providing a service out to the general public.
It's such a great response. That transparency,
Mm.
like you said with the solicitor, if there was a way for you to check on that and
Yeah,
or to see it happening, that seeing is believing.
yeah,
That transparency helps us understand. And I I am guilty of this for sure. Like I remember some major incidents where, yeah, we told them it was back up, but we, taking that extra step, it takes a special person and a special team and a special culture to come to that conclusion themselves, if they don't listen to Ticket Volume and they haven't heard this from you,
yeah.
Georgie. So if you are working in incident management, that's a great tip to follow up. The everything is back in order and here's what we learned. What a
Yeah,
great thing
because
to
you're
send.
obviously going to do this as part of your internal process.
Yeah.
You're going to do an incident report, you're going to pull out lessons learned. So why not communicate what those lessons are and what those preventative steps are out to the business? It's just adding one more step, but reputationally it makes such a big deal, because you're going to talk about it in your incident report, you're going to talk about it in your service reviews. So it's not a secret, broadcast it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, such great advice. So, how do you know when you've designed a great service? How do you know when this stuff is in place and everything is good? What does that look like?
I think for me, it's people talking about it and people telling their friends. So I've seen it recently with new joiners into the company, and they go, "Oh my God, this is so much better than my last IT department." And then they talk to their old colleagues and they're like, We've just got it right over here. Like, I've got my kit on time, I've got faces I recognise, people pick up the phone if I call them, their cameras are on, we're on Teams. I'm like, I'm just getting that personal service. So word of mouth for me is really important. And I think that about services that I consume as a customer as well. If I've experienced good service, I'm going to tell my friends about it. And
Mhm.
if I've experienced bad service, I'm probably going to put it on X or or Instagram and complain about it, and that's going to be a far wider reach.
Yeah. Yeah, we joke about NPS in IT, like, oh, we can't ask, would you recommend our IT
Mm.
services to your call? They don't have a choice. They're
Yeah,
held
this is it.
hostage. You have to
Yeah.
use our IT department. But yeah, you're right. In reality, if they do mention it, if they do brag about your IT department to a family
Mm.
member or to like one of the people that they used to work with,
Yeah.
man, that is a vote of confidence
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. And I want people coming up to me being like recommending almost, or praising people in my own team, saying, I know that if I pick up the phone and Joe answers, I just know that it's going to be okay. even if they can't fix it, I know that they're passionate enough about the delivery that they're going to go off, they're going to find the right person to fix it, but they're going to keep me in the loop. And I love getting that kind of feedback. And I will always make sure that that feeds back into my team in their one-to-ones, and it goes into their appraisals, and I make sure HR know about it, because I think I want to, that gives my team a driving force to carry on delivering excellence. So I
Mm.
think you've got to shout about those moments.
Yes, it gives us energy.
Mm,
So when things go bad, how do we do service recovery? How do we get forgiveness? How do we ask for forgiveness when we fail and fail to communicate?
mm. It's a real tricky one. I mean, in as a customer, I see services offering discounts and things like that, and I almost don't care about receiving a discount. I want it to work, so I want you
Mhm.
to build back my trust. And I think when it comes to doing that internally, you have to hold your hands up and go, "We messed up." And I know it comes back to what we've spoken about earlier, but that transparency and building that empathy, um, I think there's just no getting away from that. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's tough to do.
Mm,
I often think about how a team, a group of people has to act like a human being.
yeah,
They if they fail as a group, someone needs to actually own that and say and apologize, like
yeah,
literally apologize
yeah,
and ask for forgiveness. It's such an interesting but a difficult thing to do at scale.
yeah.
And the same
I
thing
think,
goes for a company too, right? Like the
yeah,
CEO sometimes has to do this.
yeah, absolutely. I think, and as a service delivery manager, I find myself kind of in the firing line with that quite often. It's that going out into the business, and people in IT don't they we don't have the best reputation at being the
No,
most empathetic.
no, we
So
do
it
not.
takes someone that is good, that kind of speaks both languages, that can go out and say, look, this is what happened. But giving people that trust that I actually understand what happened. I understand from a technical perspective what's happened, but I understand the effect that that had on that person's day or that person's deliverable. And unfortunately, it does mean apologising, and talking about what we're going to do differently next time.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're in IT or you're trying to get into IT, this can be one of your differentiators. If
Mhm.
you can be that human, if you can be empathetic, if you can speak the emotional language of your customers, this is a huge way to differentiate and a huge way to add value to your team and your company.
Mm.
Georgie, what a great episode. You have my day is set now. I'm just pumped up for a full day of work around IT and planning out these services. And you're speaking at SITS. What is the topic that you're speaking
Yeah.
at this year at SITS?
So I'm going to be speaking about navigating career change in ITSM, which I am super excited about, because obviously I've gone through from being a techie myself into team leadership roles, kind of leading techie teams, into service delivery, and now I'm in product delivery. So I'll be talking a lot about my career path and the lessons that I've learned, but also hopefully sharing tips for people that may feel a bit stuck, or not know where to go in terms of, do they pivot, do they stick it out. Spoiler alert, I am going to talk about a point where I almost wanted to give it all up and become a personal trainer, because I just did not care for updating Exchange servers in the middle of the night anymore. I didn't. I'm still here.
You made it. You made it through the exchange update. Well
Yeah.
done. And you see that on Reddit too. You see these people
Yeah.
that they say, I'm just not feeling rewarded. They all say, I'm gonna go move to the country, start a farm. Like there's always a dream that people chase when they get
Yeah.
totally frustrated. And hopefully people come and listen to you and they hear, hey, there's ways to stick it out. There are reasons to stick it out. Georgie, what a fantastic topic, and thank you so much for being here on Ticket Volume. How can people learn more? How can they connect with you?
So feel free to drop me a line on LinkedIn. You'll see in my banner, you can, my email address is there as well, but feel free to send me an email. I would love to connect and talk all things service management or product delivery or general mentoring guidance, anything that I can do to help. I'd love to.
You are a legend, Georgie. Thank you so much for taking some time to be here. Thanks for being on Ticket Volume.
Thank you for having me.
And for our audience, did you know that you can change and improve this podcast by DMing me, leaving a comment on YouTube or Spotify, or just text me, put it on the internet? I'll see it. That way we can turn up the ticket volume. And speaking of ticket volume, did you know that this podcast is brought to you by Invigate? Invigate is an asset-forward service management vendor who designs good software at a fair price. In fact, IT teams from Allianz, NASA, and McDonald's use Invigate to manage requests, automate workflows, and centralize inventory data so that they can focus on delivering better service, because good service is good business.